So talking about Saturn, Mars in Capricorn. Both of these planets are about making us strong. Saturn for the long term, Mars in the moment, what to commit to, what to let go of, and a whole lot more. So talking about Mars, Saturn in Capricorn. So when we get Mars and Saturn both in Capricorn, it's one of the most powerful placements, of course, that we could ever see, because Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and that naturally fortifies both the sign of Capricorn and the planet Saturn. Anytime a planet is in its own sign, well, it's like when you're in your own house and you have all your stuff around you and you're functioning with a lot of confidence, consistency. And so when Saturn is in Capricorn, any other planets that are in Capricorn at that time that join Saturn will also be fortified and somewhat dominated by the nature of Saturn, but to the highest good of whatever is being shown by Capricorn. So what I mean is that, especially relative to someone's chart, like if you have a Libra rising sign and Saturn is in Capricorn, then those fourth house qualities, which is a part of your life as a Libra, is ruled by Saturn through the fourth house. So Saturn's energy comes into your life through the fourth house. Then if Saturn is in Capricorn, that part of you is going to be really strengthened and fortified at that time. Of course, also the fifth house, because Saturn also rules the fifth house. So when Saturn is in Capricorn, it's fortifying that area of life for all of us at that time, and we can know specifically which areas are going to be strengthened by where that house falls from the rising sign. So again, this is a common principle, but the Capricorn themes are the capacity to feel and introspect about what scares us, especially the tangible concerns, the tangible fears that we have in the world. Tangible fears mean things like our money, our health, wasting time on things. For example, we're afraid that we're wasting time. Saturn brings pressure that makes us aware of whether or not we should keep doing this thing, or should we change? Should we commit to this? Should we commit to that? That's always what Saturn is doing. It's pressuring us. It's saying, come on, why are you doing this? Are you wasting your time here? It's time to move on. Or it's time to hunker down and stay committed, because this thing is really important. You've already spent a lot of time on it, so don't give up yet. Keep trying. This is the nature of Saturn. And so with Saturn, it's all about evaluating how much time to spend on something, whether or not something has finished and it's run its course and now it's time to move on, or whether or not we still have some more juice in the tank, or gas in the tank, and we need to concentrate more and not give up yet. So again, when Saturn is powerful, we gauge this equation and we can figure this out well in our life. Saturn is also the main planet that has to do with regrets. So what I mean is that when we can do this properly, then we don't have regrets. We see, when Saturn's weak in someone's chart, they often wind up having regret. For example, they could be involved, let's say they're in a situation, let's say like a relationship, where as soon as it starts to get difficult, boom, they're on to the next thing, and they won't stay committed, or they blow things up. Again, Saturn is actually debilitated in Aries, where there's this trigger. They get triggered and then they blow things up and they destroy the structure in their life. And then either they lack the commitment, or other people then lose trust in them and don't want to invest their time in that person because they're always blowing things up constantly. And so what happens is, let's say that the person, let's say with Saturn, that's not so powerful, soon as they start something and it gets hard, they leave it. And then later they reflect, oh, you know what? This was just me being impatient. If I would have just stayed a little longer, I could have worked through it. And they have a regret. They have a regret about ending things too quickly. Or they might be stuck in things too long. Like, for example, when you see the Saturn in the fire signs, fire and water are the ones that make the Saturn a little difficult. The Saturn in the fire signs, and they tend to end things too quickly, and they have regret about that. Oftentimes, Saturn in water signs, and they'll hang on too long. And when it's time to let go of something, they're quite emotional about it, and they regret spending too much time on it. Spending too much time is another Saturn regret. When Saturn is powerful, we recognize that something has run its course and it's time to let go of it, or we still have more time and we need to commit to it, so we're finished by the time it's done. We're finished with it, and we know we've been thorough enough, and now we can let it go. I gave two examples of Saturn in fire signs and Saturn in earth signs, in water signs, but it can really happen in any example, right? So powerful Saturn, we measure how much to concentrate and stay focused, and when to let go of things really well. So with Saturn in Capricorn, we're noticing those things now. We're noticing the things that where we're really evaluating, should I keep working hard on this, or should I cut my losses and let it go? If you look at the natal Saturn in your chart, you'll see whether or not you feel confused about that, how confused you feel about it. If Saturn is powerful in your chart, you'll recognize that throughout your life, even though you've had to let go of things and commit to other things, you've done it, you don't have a lot of regrets. You don't have a lot of regrets about the things that you held on to and concentrated on, or that you didn't give a proper amount of hard work and effort towards. So when Mars is also in Capricorn, Mars is very different. Saturn, we want to concentrate and pay attention because we're afraid we're going to make a mistake, and we're afraid we're going to have regrets. Because again, Saturn is also careful, doesn't want to have regrets, doesn't want to make a hasty decision, because we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to be burdened with the guilt and with the regret. Because we all have done some things that we regret, and Saturn shows up and goes, "Don't make that mistake again. You don't want to regret your decision. So make sure to either let go of it because you've been in it long enough, or commit to it because you still have some time left." So Saturn burdens us with this, and we're careful, or at least we should be, with Saturn. And right now with Saturn in Capricorn, we're all feeling pretty careful. We're aware of this. I'm not really sure. I don't want to regret letting go or committing. Mars, on the other hand, is totally different. Mars says, I don't know if I'm going to regret it or not, but just blow this damn thing up. I'm frustrated. I've had enough. That's it. Mars is more of an explosive energy. It doesn't have to be, but by nature, Mars is where we're fast, short-tempered. The heat of the moment, we do something. And in general, Mars's influence on Saturn is detrimental. Because again, Saturn is careful and cautious, and Mars says, the heck with that, just do it. And worry about it later. But Saturn's influence on Mars is very good. Because Saturn's influence on Mars is to say, be careful. Be careful about what you do. Be careful about being impulsive. Be careful about this battle and this struggle and this impulsive blowing things up. Because there's consequences to that. You can destroy something that you might want later. Particularly as it relates to people and individuals and relationships, and that willfulness that Mars prioritizes. Mars prioritizes my own strength, my own power. I want to do this and you're in my way. So right now I'm frustrated, get out of my way. I don't care if I have to push you, get out of the way. Because it's so hot that we're not considering the consequences of literally, let's say I literally have to push somebody and I didn't really need to, but I was just immature with the nature of Mars. Well, if you physically push someone even once, that could be the end of your relationship with them forever. You might have had a friendship with someone for 5 years, but then you get really frustrated and one moment you blow up, you say some things, or let's say you even put your hands on them. That's it. You might never be friends again. They might never trust you again. One impulsive moment can destroy it forever. You might not ever be able to apologize for something like that. So Saturn's influence on Mars, which is impulsive, is to slow it down and consider the consequences. But here's the thing, again, when you get Saturn and Mars together in Capricorn, they're both powerful there. Because again, Saturn is maintaining the structure and maintaining, again, whatever house it's ruling. Like if it's in someone's natal chart, I use Libra as the example, Saturn is fortifying that fourth house of, let's say, the house of, our home and where we live and our mind and mental state, right? But again, Saturn can also get stuck at times because we're afraid of disrupting what we already have. And we're evaluating whether or not I should let go of something or deepen my commitment to it. Mars comes in and says, and brings energy and action and says, do it, do it, do it. But strategic action. This is why Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Slows it down and says, now wait a minute, be strategic here. Pay attention to what you're destroying and consider the consequences of your impulsive actions, your frustrations, your anger. Remember in the past when you blew up and you destroyed and ruined this whole thing. Don't do that again. Be careful. There are consequences here. So when Saturn and Mars are both together in Capricorn, it's about the best situation for Mars especially. Because Mars is not only in the exalted sign, it's with the ruler. It has a little bit of a detrimental effect on Saturn because, again, Mars debilitates Saturn. Again, you can even just look. Saturn is debilitated in Mars' sign. Because of the thing I just mentioned, that impulsive nature can debilitate Saturn and that need for structure rather than caution. You see Saturn is exalted in Libra, where we're also very careful, and we mainly consider other people and their feelings. Mars says, the heck with that. I'm angry, that's it. I'm frustrated, get out of my way. It's kind of like the young, impulsive teenager pushing down the old man. Get out of my way. Well, you're going to regret that because people aren't going to like you if you do that, and it's a sign of immaturity. So Saturn-Mars conjunction, a lot of that personal courage and will aligned with the right strategy, not just lashing out in any direction because we're frustrated. And there's a real benefit there. Now, in the highest sense even, it's about spiritual practice. So one of the great things about a powerful Mars, particularly with the influence of Saturn, this is what's called spiritual sadhana. Not just meditating once in a while. Anybody can do it once in a while. Not just doing your yoga or your practice once in a while. We all can do that. And again, doing the practice is actually Mars. It's not Saturn. People use this. No, Saturn is not about that. Saturn is about commitment. Saturn is about doing something a long time. Mainly because you're afraid of not doing it. Or because you think it's worth it to sacrifice for the long term. Mars is about doing things right now in the moment. Mars is your energy in the moment to choose this thing or that thing. Am I doing this or that? I want to do what's right. And Mars says, I want to do what's right, even if it's difficult. In fact, if it's difficult, even better. Because I'm strong enough to do it. And I can sacrifice right now to do what I know is right, not necessarily what's easiest or what's going to make me happy right now. So this is how Mars and Venus are always in a little struggle with each other. Venus wants to be happy right now, sleep a little longer, eat some food that tastes good, eat a little too much of it, sit around and be lazy and comfortable. Mars says, no, no, no. That just makes you weak. And I'm willing to suffer for my principles because I know it's right. I need to get up early. I need to make myself strong. I need to eat the right amount of food. I need to meditate, not just now, which is Mars with the capacity to do it now and suffer for our principles right now, but to then keep doing it over and over again, which is Mars and Saturn, because Saturn says, let's keep doing it. This is worth committing to. I need to keep doing this over and over again if I want to get really strong. That's when it becomes sadhana, spiritual practices that you do every day, part of your routine. And we do things every day all the time. We do things we don't like all the time because we know it's the right thing to do. Saturn shows the power of those things. We get up and we brush our teeth. We have to take out the trash. We have to do all kinds of stuff that we don't like. Oh, can't wait to do that. No, we do it because we know we have to do it. And if we don't do it, things are going to, we're going to regret it at some point. Say, I'm not going to brush my teeth for a year. Okay, well, you're going to regret it when you're spitting your teeth out in the sink. So Saturn, again, because we know there are consequences, we do things that are unpleasant all the time, and Saturn gives us the power to do that. By the way, everybody doesn't. Some people have no ability to do that. They remain childish and foolish and go, whatever, and they don't have any teeth, as an example, right? So Saturn gives us that capacity to commit to do the things that we know we need to do, and when Mars is there, those things that we need to commit to, that we know we need to do, are things like sacrificing in the moment to do spiritual practice, to be strong. We know, this is the thing I need to do. This is the real thing I need to do every day. In fact, every moment, if we're so blessed. So Saturn-Mars conjunction in Capricorn is a great blessing for your spiritual practices, for sadhana, again, real spiritual sadhana, which is not just doing it once in a while, but committing to it every day. So you don't have to do an hour of spiritual practice every day. It's good if you did, but if you're starting from nowhere, you could just do 10, 15 minutes, breathing exercises, a little relaxation, a little stretching like yogic stretching, especially if you do it a couple times a day. You could do it when you get up, invigorate your body with pranayama, with deep breath, with, relaxing, physical posture a little bit, chanting mantra, connecting to that stillness and peace inside. You could do it around the middle of the day as well. You could do it later before you go to bed. You could say mantras. You could do all of these things. And what happens is when Saturn and Mars are together, really anywhere, but especially in Capricorn, you really get the results because Saturn ultimately is about stillness and silence and peace. And when it's in Capricorn, we can feel it really strong. It's not up there thinking about stuff. No, it's like boom. Now again, it can tend to feel heavy. It can tend to feel like death on some level. So again, when Saturn is in Capricorn, it's not an easy time that we're about to go through. It's kind of saying, are you ready to die? Because you're not in control of all this, so you better know the self. You better know yourself, because now it's going to get real. Saturn in Capricorn, it's going to get real for a while. But what's real is not all this. Getting real means getting real about what's real. And we think we know what's real, and then some little thing comes and we're like, It's time to get real. Time to do those practices that connect you to that reality. And it's very easy to connect to that reality in stillness, silence, and peace with Saturn, Mars in Capricorn.